Welcome back to the Jackson Neill Music Podcast. Here with the first episode of 2019. Almost an entire month in. It's been a little while since I've recorded one of these, but decided to give it a go since it's been such a long time. And since it's the first episode of 2019, I decided that I wanted to touch on, there's two storylines right now in hip-hop that are really kind of, I guess, I'm thinking about the most as we enter this new year. There are two things for 2019 that I'm really beginning to wonder about. One, I've been thinking about for almost a couple years now, and 2019 seems like it needs to be the time for this to happen. The other is something that was brought on just last week by a surprise release of a single, and I think you know who I'm talking about there. But first, I want to talk about this project that I've been thinking of for a couple years now, and one that a lot of people have been considering what the next step would be for this artist and where to go after they release their third major project, let's just say. And this one I'm talking about is Chance the Rapper. Because if you look at his discography, you think of something, first of all, 10 Day, that got him the initial fame, that got him the initial, response, initial recognition from everyone in the music industry. An excellent mixtape it was. Then Acid Rap is really when he turned that into mainstream success, all the way back in 2013. If you can believe that now, it's going to be turning 6 years old this year. So just absolutely, ridiculous how long. It's a lot longer ago than you think. Then 3 years ago, he returned with Chance 3, Coloring Book. In the meantime, he did the project Surf with a Social Experiment, so he was, still stayed active in those 3 years between Acid Rap and Coloring Book. But we now enter 2019, and this upcoming May, June, around that time, is when Coloring Book will be 3 years old. So if you follow the time frame between Acid Rap and Coloring Book, 3 years, we're due for something along that line from Chance. And now, it's not like he hasn't released any music. He's had some he's had definitely the singles here and there. I think he had that one song on Colbert, I think it was Daniel Caesar. That was it was a pretty big deal when that happened. Just that live version of this song. He's released the Merry Christmas Lil Mama, both those part 1 and part 2 with Jeremiah. So it's not like he hasn't put out any music. And you've seen him with features here and there. But what we're still missing, and we haven't gotten really since Coloring Book, is a full-on Chance the Rapper project. And I think it's interesting he's waited this long in order to come back with something. It's the prototypical storyline nowadays. Every artist is dropping things left and right, new albums, new projects. I mean, look at somebody like Drake, who is the king in terms of, if you talk about sales in hip-hop or really almost in any music, he's releasing a project a year. So even the people that are topping the charts all the time, they keep a steady stream. I mean, obviously you have on the extreme of somebody like Future, who's releasing a project, it seems like every couple months. But hip-hop has turned into this genre of, what have you done for me lately? Can you drop a new mixtape or a new album? Almost every 6 months people seem to want it, or at least once a year. So the fact that Chance the Rapper's taken this amount of time off is certainly telling. And all that does is it shows that, he's taking the time to produce some quality music, and who wouldn't want that from an artist? But I think this album mixtape, or however he claims to, whatever this project is, I mean, he claimed Coloring Book to be a mixtape, but you had to have Apple Music to get it. But you could also download. It was, whatever project he comes out with next, whatever full-length body of work he comes out with next, I think has a lot more weight attached to it than some people are giving it credit for, and almost flying a little under the radar right now. Because if you ask people projects they're looking forward to, they usually mention Chance the Rapper. But in these couple years, I think we're forgetting how big of a year 2016 was for Chance. Because before 2016, Chance was still, I wouldn't want to call him underground, because a lot of the, Acid Rap definitely had mainstream success, but he wasn't there just yet. He wasn't full on in that top tier of hip hop. He releases Coloring Book, gets those 3 Grammys, and dominates the charts. Not only does he do great in sales, but also the project is critically very well received. Just consensusly the best project of 2016 in hip-hop. So once that happened, that's when he entered that tier. And it was this 2016 in hip-hop was the year of Chance the Rapper. I don't think many people would argue with that one. Many year-end lists at the end of 2016 crowned Chance as owning that year, as he finally established himself in that top tier of hip-hop. And once that happened, it was kind of, okay, he's here. He's arrived. Chance the Rapper is looking like he could be, some people were even saying maybe, go towards that throne of being the best rapper there is. And after that stellar year, after that year of tons of momentum, years like 2017, 2018, where yes, we did get some music here and there, but certainly not the kind that you would expect from a person like Chance in the top tier, that kind of momentum building big project. So now as we enter 2019, and it's nearing 3 years since Coloring Book. And in that time, we've seen a lot of emergence of other artists. I mean, just if you look back at who was some of the bigger artists in 2016, and you look at now, there's a whole ton of people who have had almost entire career spans in that single time, the way that music works nowadays, constantly revolving door of artists. So Chance the Rapper, through his previous projects, has already established that he has staying power. But I want to see with Chance 4, with whatever he decides to name this project, but his fourth major project. Have we already seen the definitive Chance the Rapper project? Because yes, he's only 25. It's crazy when artists break as young as Chance the Rapper did. It's crazy to realize how young they still are, because it feels like Chance the Rapper's been around forever. He's been 7 years since 10 Day was released. That'll come up this year. Well, he was only, he was a teenager when that came out. He was a teenager when acid rap and all that was going on. So he's still very young. But I get worried because acid rap was such a great mixtape. And in my opinion, his best project. Where Coloring Book certainly built off of acid rap sonically, certainly had a lot of elements in there, especially that whole gospel tone of it, that whole gospel elements to it. I think that huge momentum build, a huge sonic build off of acid rap. I think he did a tremendous job with that. But in terms of just, each verse, in terms of the songs, in terms of the energy that he brought, there was this feeling to acid rap that just kind of late teen, early 20, almost anxiety-ridden, just kind of anxious, but still happy. It was just this incredible blend of emotions and feelings into his verses, not only in the words, but in his delivery, all of the sounds Chance makes. I don't even want to try to attempt those because God knows I can't do that. So with acid rap, being some people consider, including myself, that his best project, we're now nearing the 6-year mark from that. Coloring Book certainly was a step in the right direction. But when you drop projects every 3 years or so, there has to be a lot of growth. I don't doubt there will be, but I have to admit, I'm wondering where that next step for Chance is. Because I think, and most people would agree, he is talent-wise in that top tier of hip-hop. But sometimes the release schedule for him, it seems a little off-kilter. When we do get the big projects, they're great. I would like to, it'd be nice if you could, somebody like Kendrick Lamar, let's say, about every 2 years you're going to get something. Sometimes you throw something like Untitled Unmastered in there in between years. J. Cole's kind of gotten into this whole 2-year album rotation or something. They take their time, but we still kind of have a reasonable, a normal timeline. I wonder what that'll be for Chance the Rapper going forward. I don't know if these whole 3-year intervals, if that really works out, especially just how quickly we move on from things today in hip-hop. But with this album, it really needs to be big. Because that year of him owning 2016 just keeps getting farther and farther away. And it's hard to remember. It's getting harder and harder to remember just how dominant he was. And I'm ready for him to dominate 2019 because I know if anybody can, he certainly has the talent to do so. Now I want to switch gears a little bit and we'll stay in hip-hop because another storyline I'm thinking about for 2019 is something that's already occurred, but we're going to continue to reap the benefits of it going forward. And what I'm talking about is the Revenge of the Dreamers sessions that J. Cole and, all of the people in Dreamville, all the people he invited. I think it was dozens and dozens of people down there for those sessions. So those have already completed. And with those being completed, the music's been made. Now it's just a matter of when will it be released, who's on the songs, what are the kind of combinations. And we're already seeing stuff on Twitter, Jid, Quentin Miller talking about freestyles they have together, all this crazy stuff going on between different artists and what they produced and helped make during those sessions. But the first thing to come out of those, the first thing to break ground since that happened, was the new single by J. Cole, Middle Child, produced by T-. And I included that produced by T- in there because I think it's important when we discuss J. Cole and this new song. First of all, the song is great. Absolutely was not what I was expecting. People I talked to when you first heard that name of Middle Child, you didn't really necessarily think, oh, this is going to be a great banger or anything along those lines. Maybe more of a mellow track, and that definitely proved me wrong. But an incredible energy on there. It's a great song to listen to with a lot of people and just turn it up really loud. It's awesome like that, and still Cole brings a lot of lyricism in there, has some cool things. They're talking about like Drake and The Watch and everything along those lines, and how, he won't beef with them. I think there was a little bit of a shot towards maybe Kanye in there about the whole beefing with people because of sneaker releases, but, that's kind of getting nitpicking. The big takeaway, I think, though, is just a simple fact of that this song was a collaborative effort with J. Cole. And even though there's no featured artist, even though it's just him, crazy to hear him use the auto-tune like that. I love it, but, definitely something different. Cool to see him progressing as an artist like that and trying new things. But the fact that he has this song produced by T-, and it was a pretty big deal that he made a pretty big deal about who the producer was. Whether it was shouting him out in, the first couple seconds or, just kind of mentioning it any chance he got whenever he mentioned, oh, Middle Child produced by T-. And a lot of times you see that in hip hop, but sometimes with singles you don't always see that. You don't always see exactly the artist saying, oh, listen to my new single produced by blah, so and so. Especially, at the top tier, usually it's just kind of like, this is my new single kind of thing. So the fact that he is really pushing the whole that it was produced by T- is telling, because you look at the Revenge of the Dreamers session and all of those people invited, all of those people that were part of that. And you start to think and realize that J. Cole has really built himself up to be right there, I would say, number 2, right next to Kendrick Lamar for the top people, the top artists in hip hop right now, and he's done that a lot, solo. I mean, there's that old saying, J. Cole went double platinum or went platinum with no features. You look at Forest Hills Drive, no features there. 4 Years, only no features. KOD, there was Kill Edward, but as we know, it's him. So that everybody knows that there's not a lot of features. But if you even look at the production on a lot of those projects, there's not many other producers. There are some, but for the most part, J. Cole, especially KOD, J. Cole wrote it, he produced a lot of it, he rapped a lot of it, didn't have any features, did a lot of it himself. And while that's had amazing dividends, it's telling to see, okay, he orchestrated this huge community event for hip-hop with getting all these artists and producers and songwriters and all that together. Now the first song he releases of 2019 is a song where it's produced by somebody else and he's making a big deal about that. I think that we've gotten to this point with J. Cole where he has proved himself time and time again that he can make great projects by himself, or a majority of by himself, with only, some producer help here and there. But now, I think we might finally start to get to see what J. Cole can do in terms of collaboration. Last year, we kind of started to see it where we had all those great features on other people's stuff. But mainly, maybe on his projects, we start to see a little bit more of this collaboration. This is his single that he, had different producer with. Maybe we finally will get the Fall Off. 1985 is called Intro to the Fall Off on the end of KOD. And maybe since it's, it's kind of considered as it a mixtape or whatever, maybe we do get a type of some features on there or something else. I think there was the off season or something rumor like that as well. There's a lot of looking at J. Cole going forward into 2019. Maybe he's gotten to this point in his career where, yes, he can do it all. We know that he's proved it time and time again. 3 albums that I would consider to be For Your Eyes Only, I think, is, one of those modern hip-hop classics. I think we'll look back at this era of hip-hop, and that's one of the albums you have to mention. For Your Eyes Only and KOD, 2 other great albums, where he handled it, almost everything, a lot of it by himself. Now going forward, I want to see what J. Cole can do with this upcoming generation mostly, and just other people in his era, or as he mentions, the middle child, the era younger than him and the era older than him. Because if you look at Dreamville, he's curated this great roster of artists. Look at someone like Jid with his latest album, DiCaprio 2. Then there's still people like Earth Gang on there. Kaz. There's great, great artists on that label. So not only will he be hopefully collaborating with them, but artists outside of Dreamville as well. And if you look at J. Cole in 2019, he's saying on Twitter, saying on social media that he's ready to bring it this year. So the other storyline of 2019 I would be looking forward to in hip-hop is really how does J. Cole choose to go at this year? Because it feels different. Is Middle Child his first legit album single since 2013? Because since then he hasn't done album singles. I don't know, but I really can't wait to find out because I think it feels like something different is going to happen. He had he had the opening of his career, those mixtapes, including Friday Night Lights, the warm up, all those great ones that were really, really, really good. Then he had his first couple, his first 2 albums. His first one. In my opinion, always felt like Friday Night Lights should have been his debut album, but whatever. There was still a lot of some songs from there on his debut album, but the debut project was still pretty good. Then he followed up with Born Sinner, a project that in his discography, sometimes it feels like it gets a little forgotten because it came right before 2014 Forest Hills Drive, but still an absolute great album. Then he had Forest Hills Drive, For Your Eyes Only, KOD, all this stuff that put him at the top or right there next to the top with Kendrick. Now that he starts to enter this next phase, I think this is the entering of the next phase of J. Cole's career, where not only him making great music, but him making great music with others, with people of his generation, of the generation before, maybe even of the generation coming up. I think that is what we're going to start to see from J. Cole, shifting to that new phase of his career here in 2019. So as you look for this new year, lots of great stuff looking forward to for hip-hop between that Chance the Rapper project, J. Cole, even Kendrick Lamar. There was all those kind of rumors about his album or whatever last year that turned out to be fake, or I couldn't even follow all the stuff. But he came out with Black Panther, but that was more of a curation. He had definitely some verses on there, had some songs on there, but it's really been since Damn in 2017, which will be turning 2 years old this upcoming March or April, or right around this upcoming spring, let's just say. So he's nearing his every 2 year kind of project cycle. So maybe we'll get something from him. Just 2019 looks like a great, great year for hip hop, all of the big players associated with it. So that'll wrap it up for this Jackson Neill Music Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can check this out, all your favorite listening platforms, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, anything you'd like to listen on. Check out the Anything Goes to Jackson Neill Podcast, where I interview musicians as well. Also, the sports podcast, that'll be coming out throughout the week there. At Jackson Neill 20 for Instagram and Twitter to catch all my stuff on there. Links to that in the description. Also, this is a sponsored podcast by Believe the Hype. They are a sneaker selling company. They get the biggest drops and sell them straight to you guys. Visit their stuff. The links to them are in the description as well. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you all next time.